feelings towards Zelenskyy have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelenskyy will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelenskyy will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
In the ReliefFactor.com studios, here's Mike.
That's the numbers guy over at CNN, Harry Enton, pointing out that Zelensky's popularity has plummeted pretty dramatically here in the United States, not to mention his approval in Ukraine is in the tank. They don't like him. Yet, you know, the John Boltons and the Brian Kilmeades and the Karl Roves of the world, they sure like him. They see him as some kind of warrior and savior for the people of Ukraine. Here's cut 2. This is President Trump explaining what he wants to happen between Ukraine and Russia.
What do you need to see from President Zelenskyy to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist. And they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100. But on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created. And we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys, from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop.
He wants the killing to end. He wants the war to end. And he's not going to take a side because there are young Russian boys that are being killed. There are young Ukrainians being killed. It's a humanity issue. And you want to go down the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes, try to decide who's wearing the white hat and who's wearing the black hat. And then don't start looking at corruption in Ukraine. You know what I mean? Nobody is pure as the driven snow on this. And Trump just wants it to end. And I'm confident President Trump is going to help broker peace between these two nations. I feel very good about it. In fact, I feel good about just about everything. I can't think of anything right now. Here's some breaking news. Trump is going to end all federal funding for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came, he said in a Truth Social post. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. No masks. I mean, it's about time. Everything is changing at a rapid pace, and it's changing for the better. Border crossings dramatically down. Look, the tariffs is something that he strongly believes will turn this nation's economy around. Canada's griping about it. Mexico is whining about it. China's not happy about it. You either trust his instincts or you don't. And I truly know that the mood of this country is shifting. In fact, I know this audience's mood is shifting. Thanks to Barrett Media, they did a nice profile of our show. It appears this morning at barrettmedia.com. We also reposted it on X. If you follow me on X at Gallagher Show, really nice article by Garrett Seawright, one of their great writers over there at Barrett Media. They're doing great work. We're so blessed with so many kind of trade publications and online sites that do an incredible job. Of course, Talkers Magazine is the Bible of the talk media industry. Barrett Media is doing great work. So if you want to see the article where I talk about this audience and your level of excitement and anticipation and enthusiasm.
I think the easiest way we can kind of just ask this is, do Americans like the way that Trump's handling his job and compare it to how they felt about Joe Biden? So this is the net approval rating. You look at Joe Biden back in 2024, he was 22 points underwater. Holy cow. You look at Donald Trump, it's just a different planet entirely. I mean, the gulf between these two is wider than the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on. He's at +2. So look, at this particular point, Americans are giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. He's doing considerably better than Joe Biden was doing on the handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And so on this simple question, I think Americans are saying, okay, Donald Trump's doing all right on this.
What about specifically on how they feel about bringing the war to an end?
Yeah, okay. So, look, questions on this can be quite complicated, but I think this kind of gets at sort of where the American trend line is. Americans on the Russia-Ukraine war want a quicker end of the war, but Russia keeps its captured land. Look at this, 50%. Bare majority coming in here. Support Ukraine's right to fight, even if it means a longer war. That's at 48. This is very, very close. But the trend line on this question is so important because that want a quick end of the war, look at this. You go back to August of 2022, it was at 31%. Now we're at 50%. I mean, that is a rocket ship upwards in terms of the Americans who want a quick end to the war, even if it means Russia keeps the captured Ukraine land. Americans are moving closer and closer to wanting a compromise, even if it means that Ukraine doesn't really get what it set out to want, at least at the beginning of this war.
And Americans' views on Russia are shifting as well.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons why we're seeing this is Americans who say Russia is an enemy. You go back to 2023, it was 64%. In that CBS News YouGov poll, it was down to 34%. Now, there is a chunk that believes that Russia is an unfriendly nation, but the percentage who believe that they're either an ally or friendly, that's up to 34% as well, basically equal to the percentage who say that they're an enemy. So views on Russia have become, let's say, a little less isolated in terms of wanting Russia to be way out there on their own, thinking that they're an enemy. At this particular point, they're starting to see Russia a little bit more friendly, and I think that's part of the reason why Americans want to see a compromise at this particular hour.
Ukraine is going to defeat Russia. What's the expectation here? Paul's in New Jersey. Paul, how does this thing come to an end, in your view? Paul.
Oh, in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The fact is, Ukraine is going to have to give up a great deal. Either that or Russia is just going to crush them.
Right. And it doesn't sound like Zelensky is prepared to give up anything.
Well, I think he's playing the game right now. He's got pressure at home because he's lost popularity there.
Right.
And he has to do something in order to make waves. And real quick, the reason I called in is you talked about expectations.
Yes.
You can look up. I think Prager had a 5-minute thing on expectations, and if I remember correctly, and the way I live my life is, I really have no expectations. I work hard at that, and I deal with things as they come, and I make the most of them.
I love that, and that's such a Prager-esque kind of thing, and a reminder that if you're missing Dennis as he's recovering, don't forget Pragertopia. You could become a member, pragertopia.com, to get your daily dose of Dennis. And that's how I have to live my life, not have any expectation at all, worry about myself, not be concerned about what somebody else is doing. And I love that attitude. You're right. And as a lot of you have texted me a moment ago, I'm looking at the text line, you know who saw me open the door? God knows. You don't do it for a thank you. You don't do it because you want to get something in return. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Look at that, $6,300, $15, couple $100. We're not blowing the doors open yet, but maybe we will. MikeOnline.com. Click on the Feed Their Future banner or text the keyword food to 800-655-MIKE. How do you think this is going to end with Ukraine? And what's going to happen tonight at the big speech? Stick around. More coming up.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.